Hey everybody, how's it going? It's the Daily Shooter, and today I've got an 1100 round review of the Sig M400 Tread, 16-inch 5.56. I've heard a lot of people say that this is a budget or entry-level AR. I don't think it's either of those, so let's go ahead and talk about it. Okay, so the Sig M400 Tread, again, this is a 5.56 with a 16-inch barrel. This is what a lot of people on YouTube here call an entry-level or budget rifle, and I just don't feel that that's the case. I have reviewed so many ARs over the past 7.5 years that after I've had a chance to actually use this thing and check the functionality and, get plenty of rounds through it, 1,100 rounds total now, I can say this is not an entry-level AR. It might be entry-level for Sig, and that's something to consider because Sig rifles, they do cost quite a bit, right? So for entry-level purposes for Sig, yeah, it might be entry-level. But as far as somebody going into the market and seeing what's available on the shelves and then picking this up versus, let's say, an M&P Sport or a Ruger 5.56, this is certainly heads and tails above that. It is not entry-level in that case. Also, when it comes to budget, this thing does come under $1,000, which is a pretty good price. But at the same time, I wouldn't really consider $900 budget. If I'm going to get a budget AR, it's probably going to cost around $500. Now, while I don't believe that this is a budget rifle, and we'll go over all the different features and the components and things like that so I can kind of talk about why I don't think this is a budget rifle, there is one specific thing that I don't like, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. Now, this thing came about because I was walking into my FFL, which is Spartan Arms here in North Las Vegas, Nevada. If you ever go into Spartan Arms, let them know the Daily Shooter sent you. They're a big supporter of the channel, and they help me out with transfers and stuff like that, so they're pretty cool. I did pay cash, paid full price for this thing. I thought it was a really good deal. As a matter of fact, this one actually came with a Sig optic on it, but it was a 2.5 to 10. I didn't want to use this with a scope on it, so I went ahead and I switched that out. But still, this came in a really good price. I saw it on the wall. I've always been wanting to review one, so I decided to buy it. I brought it home, took a look at it, and instantly started to enjoy the different features that this has to offer. Again, in my opinion, not budget and not entry level. So let's go over why I think that is. Let's start off from the back here. So this actually comes with the Magpul SLK stock. The SLK stock is one of my favorites. One of the reasons for that is because it's slimmed down, it's toned down, it's not as big and as bulky as some other stocks that Magpul makes, but it still works really well. Gives you a nice, rubberized, plasticky background right here that's kind of grippy so it stays on your shoulder. It still has that kind of extended cheek piece that kind of rolls to the side, so it's very comfortable if you want to get a good cheek weld on it. It feels really nice. It's a good stock. It locks on nice and solid. It's not super wiggly or anything like that. It has a nice good fitment to it, gives you all the positions that you want. It's easy to operate and so forth, and it's got that nice slim design. So it comes with the Magpul SLK stock. Now, the other thing that it comes with is going to be this Sig grip. Now, I wasn't sure what to think about this Sig grip with all the other grips that are on the market these days. There's so many ways to customize your grip and choose different angles and stuff like that. Obviously, when something comes OEM from the factory, you got to wonder, who had a hand in it. And it actually turns out to be really nice. It's got a good feel to it. It's got some texture to it, not too much texture, but it's got some good texture to it. You get a nice good hold and it feels really ergonomic. So I actually like the Sig grip. Now, when it comes to the trigger, feels pretty much just like a general mil-spec trigger. If anything's going to be basic about this, it's going to be the trigger. That's not really that big of a deal. You can upgrade it with a CMC for just over $100, maybe $130, something like that. If you want to put a drop-in single-stage 3.5-pound trigger in there, you can do that. If you want something like a mil-spec, just go ahead and leave the trigger in there. So the trigger itself is mil-spec, but that's pretty much it. Maybe the upper is mil-spec and the charging handle too, but when we're talking about all the different controls that we have here, that's kind of where this thing sort of comes out of the box. Okay, so now that we have this thing flipped over, let me go ahead and show you guys some of the features that are on here that I just don't think you're going to find on some of the other budget options. The first one's going to be the bolt catch bolt release. So on a typical bolt catch bolt release, you're going to see the same as we have here on the top. So if you want to release that bolt, you simply press on that, the bolt flies home. But at the bottom of a typical bolt release, you're just going to see that little like nub, right? And so you push in that nub, you bring your charging handle back, and you can lock the bolt back. This has a lot more surface area. So it has more surface area to the left and to the right, so that when you're gripping it, you can bring your finger up like this, and it just makes using the controls a lot easier. We also have an ambidextrous mag release, which I think is a really nice feature, especially for you lefties out there who want to be able to use your typical finger to drop the mag. So we do have ambidextrous mag release. So both righties and lefties are going to have access with their finger to be able to drop that mag a little bit easier, and I think that's a really nice feature. We also have another ambidextrous control, which is going to be the safety selector. So the safety selector on the standard side is going to be a little bit longer than on the right side. So on the right side, it's a little bit shorter so that people who are right-handed, given the fact that a majority of people are right-handed, are going to be able to grip it, and they're not going to have that control be in their way very much. So it is shortened on that one side, but you have that nice ambidextrous control. Another thing about it is we have these quick detach sling mounts that are actually built into the lower itself and have been reinforced, and those are going to be ambidextrous as well. So towards the back of the receiver right there, and on the other side, you're going to be able to attach a quick detach sling swivel. So I think that's pretty cool. All that's going to be on the lower. Now, when it comes to the standard mag release on the other side for righties, it's just a typical mag release. Doesn't look like anything fancy there. As far as the charging handle goes, this is just a standard mil-spec charging handle, just a regular T handle. I do think that Sig actually offers the Tread because, believe it or not, the M400 Tread comes in several different configurations. It comes with different optics. It just depends, you know, what you want and what you're looking for. You can get it in different configurations, and you can get them with an ambidextrous charging handle. However, this one just came with a standard mil-spec charging handle. On the top, you're going to see that we have this pick rail, pretty much runs the entire length of the upper receiver right there, but then stops at the handguard. So it's basically pick rail and then nothing here on the handguard. So really nice upper, very nice lower, a lot of great ambidextrous controls. Everything seems really nice and quality. The bolt and bolt carrier are magnetic particle inspected, high pressure tested. Everything was on there nice and tight. My castle nut hasn't come loose. Again, it's been 1,100 rounds, so I haven't had a problem with that. I haven't had any malfunctions to speak of, no feeding issues. I've had no problems with this whatsoever. So as far as reliability goes, as far as shootability goes, and the controls and how everything's worked, this thing's functioned 100%. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about the barrel, the gas block, and the muzzle device that we have here. So the barrel is going to be a 416R stainless steel. I don't know exactly what profile it is, but just taking a quick look at it, it looks to be maybe in between a light and a medium profile barrel. It's definitely not a heavy profile barrel, but it is 416R stainless steel, which is going to give you good accuracy. It's going to give you good wear characteristics in the barrel versus, let's say, like a chrome lined barrel, which tends to wear towards the end and towards the chamber. 416R tends to wear evenly all the way down the barrel, which is nice. So we have 416R stainless steel barrel. It is accurate. I've been able to get 1 MOA accuracy out of this when I was using the stock optic that came on it. Again, 1,100 rounds is really hard to do these days, to be honest with you. So what I've done is I've been reviewing optics on this thing. So I've been making like dual purpose videos. So while I go out to review for an optic, I'll also be reviewing the rifle. And so I've reviewed like 3 different optics with this in order to, you know, kind of make the ammo last, not just review this and then, you know, do an optic and spend another 400 or 500 rounds doing that. And so I've been kind of combining my reviews into one in order to make this work and be able to put that much ammo through this thing, especially when it comes to, you know, the prices and stuff these days, which are absolutely ridiculous. So another thing I want to talk about besides the barrel, and I love the fact that it's a 1 in 8 twist. That's actually my preferred twist rate because, let's be honest, the majority of us are going out there, we're shooting standard 55 grain FMJs. That's the cheapest. It's what we can find. That's what's out there right now. And a 1 in 8 will stabilize that pretty well. So while, you know, a lot of guys that are into, you know, marksmanship and things like that will want a 1 in 7. so they can run maybe a 77 grain or something a little bit heavier. I think for the general public, shooting somewhere between 55 grain and 62 grain is where you're going to land, and a 1 in 8 twist is going to accommodate that perfectly. So again, the gas block. So this has a mid-length gas system, which is really nice. It's very soft shooting, feels pretty good, especially the fact that it doesn't have a compensator. It has a flash hider at the end. It still shoots very flat, feels really nice. This gas block, surprisingly enough, is made out of stainless steel. Sig says that even though it's made out of stainless steel, it's lighter than titanium because of the way that they have designed it. And it looks really interesting. It's definitely different than gas blocks that I've seen in the past. It doesn't have that typical, big, bulky, drop shaped look to it. It looks different. It looks like it's been milled down, and it looks like just the parts that you need to be there are there. But they're saying that it's a strong, strong device. And so I'm going to take their word for it, and we'll go with that. But it looks like a really nice gas block. I haven't had any issues with it. Everything seems great. So we got a nice gas block on there, nice barrel, and then at the end what we have here is a Sig 3-prong flash hider. Now, interestingly enough, this flash hider, being a 3-prong flash hider, the way that it's designed, I don't get the typical ting that you would get typically with a 3-prong. Well, actually, I guess it doesn't really matter. A 3-prong or a 4-prong, whenever I use a flash hider, I typically get that kind of ting, it sounds a little bit like a pitchfork. I don't get that with this. It actually sounds nice and quiet. I don't know if that has to do with the way that it's designed, but it works out pretty well, and it's set up to accept a Sig suppressor. I don't have a Sig suppressor, but from what I understand, this thing is supposed to be straight and true and allow for those Sig suppressors, and it's supposed to lock on there pretty nice. Again, I don't have one, so I can't say whether or not, it works as good as they say it does, but they say it works pretty good, and we're going to take their word for it there. Okay, so the one thing I don't like about the Sig M400 Tread, if you guys haven't noticed, I've looked at it probably 100 times now, it's going to be the handguard. I really dislike this handguard. I mean, I see what Sig was going for. Aesthetically, I think it looks really nice. I think it looks like a cool handguard. But as far as functionality goes, I don't like it at all. Let me tell you why. That's because this handguard gets super freaking hot. And that's because right here, we have the barrel nut. The barrel nut makes contact with the handguard. That means that typically on pretty much any handguard, it's going to get pretty hot right here, and most of us are going to hold a little bit ahead of that barrel nut just to kind of keep our hands cool as we're using it. But because this handguard is completely enclosed until about this point, there is nowhere for that heat to go except for down the handguard. And so any area that you grip within this point right here gets as hot as the barrel nut. I mean, just about as hot as the barrel nut. It is really difficult to grab, and if you put a few mags through this, a few 30-round mags through this, you're probably going to need to put on gloves at some point because it just gets too hot to hold on to this thing. So on the front here, we have some weight-relieving cuts that also kind of serve as a way to aerate the barrel and keep the gas block cool. We also have M-LOK to the top right here, which is kind of just towards the front on the top. So we have 3 M-LOK slots there, and then we have M-LOK at the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock position. On the top of the handguard, it is completely solid all the way down, and again, it touches the barrel nut and then goes all the way down. So this handguard does get very, very hot. The handguard feels great. It's very comfortable when it's cool. It's well deburred. It's well manufactured. It's not a cheap handguard by any means. The coatings look nice. The anodizing looks good. It's got that nice flat color. So everything about that is great. But given the fact that you have 0 aeration right here, 0 weight relieving cuts, and 0 way to let that barrel cool down or the barrel nut cool down by having those vents or ports cut in right here, it's a very hot handguard. So anyway, like I was saying before, there is a way to remedy that. Sig actually sells for the M400 a handguard that basically slides onto the same barrel nut, so you don't have to worry about taking off the barrel nut. You don't have to worry about disassembling anything else. You just take the handguard off and you replace it with a handguard that is completely aerated all the way through, all the way down, and it's got M-LOK all the way down. As a matter of fact, I'm waiting for an order from Optics Planet. If you guys already own a Tread and you want to get one, you can always use the discount code. It's discount. Well, I got to make sure. Check out my website. I think it's discount code DAILY or DAILY2A. I got to double check that, but you can always go down to my website. My website's going to be linked down below, and I have all my discount codes over there. But I'm waiting for one from Optics Planet, and we're going to go ahead and switch it out. So it's a quick fix. It's not super expensive, and again, it uses the same barrel nut. So you're not going to have to remove the barrel nut, go with a different barrel nut or different installation. Simply slide this one off, put the new one on, tighten it down, and you're good to go. Problem solved. Now, some of you might notice that I still have the little Tread logo installed at the bottom right here. I actually left that there to help me identify which one this is while they're in my safe, because I have plenty of safes and they're all stacked up pretty tight. And so if I want to take this out for review and I want to work specifically with this one right here, this is facing out in the safe, and so I can see it. For those people that are wondering, they're easy to take off. They come on the side like this. Let's see if I have that up. So it comes in the side like this, and it's just kind of popped into that M-lock slot. All you have to do is just get something under there and just pop this thing, and it comes right out. But it does come with these little Tread logos on the side right there, which I think is kind of cool marketing. You know, I'm a fan of marketing. I think marketing is neat. It's nice. It's a good way to get people to, you know, notice your product. And if you see a bunch of black on the wall and then you see something that's got this thing sticking out of it, it does kind of draw your eye into it. So it's a pretty cool little marketing thing, but they come off nice and easy, and you don't have to have that on there, even though I left mine on there just, again, for kind of identifying it in my safe, and it works pretty well for that. So the Sig M400 Tread in 5.56 has actually turned out to be a really good rifle. I would not steer anybody away from one of these whatsoever. I mean, if the handguard's going to be an issue for you and you don't want to wear gloves, that might be a defining factor for you. That might be what steers you away from this completely. But if you want something that's got great controls, if you want something that's you know, set up really well, it's got a great barrel, it's been MOA for me, it's you know, solid, it's ready to accept a suppressor, it's free floated, and it comes in under $1,000, I don't, it's really hard to beat. I am going to be comparing this to one other AR that I have that comes in just about the same price point that also has some pretty cool features, not as many, but I'm going to be comparing it to the Savage MSR Recon 3, which is also a pretty cool rifle. We'll be doing that video a little bit later on down the road, but I've enjoyed it a lot. I think it shoots really well. It shoots nice and flat. It's easy to control. It's nice and ambidextrous. And if you bought one, I think that you've got something that you can definitely enjoy, and I don't think it's budget at all. So if you hear everybody in the world saying that it's budget, and you take a look at it and you don't think it's budget and you can't figure out why people are saying that, well, to me, $900 isn't budget, and neither are these controls. Again, I paid full price for this. Sig didn't send this out. As a matter of fact, I have zero relationship with Sig whatsoever. So, you know, this is just my honest opinion about this rifle. I definitely think it's a pretty good one, and I think it's worth it. So anyway, I want to thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe. Have a great day.